Hello, everybody. This is Gary Johnson with the Woud Institute. You all know me from our webinar series. I'm excited to bring to you Dean Steinman today to talk about social media and technology. I know it's something that comes up all the time as we have discussions about how we need to wow our patients. And before I bring Dean into the conversation, just a couple of things to frame this conversation today. So Dean built my website. He works with several of my clients, does an outstanding job. And so we're going to ask him a little bit about his background with the field of orthodontics, what things he sees that are really important for orthodontists and their websites, their social media, and those type things. And then this will be something that'll be uploaded onto my website, so you'll be able to watch it over and over again. So with that said, welcome, Dean. How are you?
Terrific, Gary. How you doing today?
I'm doing really good. Dean, if you could do us a favor and let the practices out there know a little bit about your background, specifically as it relates to orthodontics and how many orthodontists you work with and that type of a thing.
Sure thing. Our website is ortho-marketing.com, and we've been working in the orthodontic space now for approximately 5 years. I've been running marketing companies and dealing websites and technology for almost 20 years now. And the way we got into this, interesting story, is a friend of mine, a real dear friend, was an orthodontist locally by us, asked me to help him out with this website. And of course, I take care of the guy. He actually put braces on both of my kids. So I'm like, sure, of course, Dr. Barry Glazer.
Oh,
so
sure.
what we did, so what I did is I helped get Barry out, and Barry tracks every single patient that comes in. And by the end of the first year, I became his third biggest referrer to the practice. And before he started working with me, the internet and social media was not even in the top 20.
Wow.
So it made a tremendous difference in his practice. Luckily for me, at the same time, Dr. Glazer started working with Align Tech, and he actually goes around the country and talks about Invisalign and helps practices out. And he was nice enough to say the reason he was successful is because you hired a marketing company. You can't do it in-house. And from there, he told a few friends who told people, and moving forward now, we have close to 70 practices throughout the United States and Canada that we work with, and we help them with all facets of their practice, from website development to online marketing to search engine optimization to social media marketing to reputation management, make sure your reviews are being set up properly, and mobile marketing, make sure your website can be seen on any type of platform, and email marketing as well to reach out to the patients.
Well, I can tell you from a personal experience, Dean, the reason I'm doing this webinar, and I don't do these things very often, I have to really trust the person that I'm going to do it with, is you've done a phenomenal job, not only with my own website, but with several of the clients that I've recommended to you. They've been very, very pleased. So here's what I wanted to do. Now, by the way, you are speaking at the PCSO this year, correct?
Correct. They'll be out in lovely Palm Springs in October.
That'll be great. So one of the things to the audience, and I think they know this, but whenever you speak in an AAO sanctioned event, which I've had the opportunity, been asked to do that, whether that's the AAO, the big meeting, as all of you know, the big one that goes on every year. Then there's a couple of slightly smaller meetings. There's the SAO, which is in the Southwest. And then there's the PCSO. The PCSO is a huge meeting. I mean, it is second or third largest and attended around the country. And so Dean's been asked to come in and speak there as a lecturer on, I assume, social media or the internet or what?
Yep, social media and marketing for the practices.
Okay, so he's been asked to come in as a speaker to do that. So anyway, all that being said, here's what I wanted to do, Dean. I just wanted to have kind of an informal conversation and talk about what I see in many, many practices, which is a lack of sophistication with many of them with their websites. One of the things I've seen out there, without naming names, there are a couple of major website developers in the ortho world that have put together some cookie cutter templates that, 7 or 8 years ago was fine. It was just kind of a standard platform that you'll see in our industry, right? And a lot of the practices out there have that and haven't done anything to really upgrade their site. And when I have conversations with them about it, and they say, well, do you really think that's important? And my answer back is, well, do you still carry a flip phone? And they laugh at me and say, well, no, I don't have a flip phone. I have a smartphone. And I say, well, that's kind of the comparison. It still works. You can still make phone calls on the flip phone, but it's not going to be as sophisticated as upgrading your site and doing some different things. So can you talk about that a little bit, about your experience with cookie cutter templates that you've seen out there in the marketplace and kind of what you do?
Sure. Well, a website is your entree to the world. It's your calling card. It's the first thing that most people see when on your practice. Albeit if they're looking for a new practice or you get a referral. Somebody does a referral, most probably they go to your site to just take a look at you and see where you are, and your first impression is very important. A website that is not up to date, not cutting edge, not easy to navigate is going to be a negative impression. And then also very important that the website is seen on the mobile phone. When almost 50% of traffic now is on mobile.
Right.
So if your website can't be seen on your phone, you're going to lose a tremendous amount of traffic. And recently, Google changed their marketing algorithms that if your website is not mobile optimized, you're going to drop from their
right?
rankings.
Wow.
Yeah, it sure is, which is real important. It's very important to be able to update your website too. And when it comes down to it, it's really about Google. You want people to find you. And in order to be found on Google, your website has to be relevant for content. It has to be the right stuff. So if somebody's looking for braces or Invisalign, orthodontist in your particular zip code or location, your website has to say that. It has to have content that talks about braces or orthodontist or Invisalign, not just the word. So to be able to update a website is very, very important. And using cookie cutter
Let me
websites.
ask you this question as you're talking about that, right? Tell me this. One of the things I've challenged a lot of practices that they need to have on their site is dynamic information versus static, specifically YouTube videos that they've built, either educating the patient or explaining a procedure or welcoming them to their practice. Does having YouTube, and I specifically talk about YouTube because I thought you had told me before that having a YouTube really strongly improves their ranking. Is that true?
It sure is. Yeah, YouTube is right now the 5th largest search engine out there. So more and more people are using YouTube as a search engine, and to have a very powerful link to your website from YouTube helps you from an SEO standpoint. But at the same time, people are used to looking at videos. They want to be spoken to. Nobody reads. Nobody has patience to read a website. So within 7 seconds, they want to know who you are, what you do, and how to contact you, and from there, be able to click one button and sit back and watch your message. So the video is very, very important.
Dean, you bring up such a great point, and I'm so glad you mentioned 7 seconds, because when I do my seminars, one of the things that I say to people in my main seminars, you have 7 seconds to make a first impression when they click that website. And if you don't capture their attention, they hit the back button. They're gone.
They're gone. Yeah.
Right?
100%.
Yeah. And so I think having first of all, can I find you? And then if I do find you, and I want to talk about that for a second, because there's a lot of snake oil salespeople out there selling search engine optimization and what they can do with it. And can you give the audience your perspective on if they're looking for search engine optimization as a tool from a company, what kind of things, what questions should they be asking, and what should they be looking out for in terms of, knowing whether that's credible or not credible?
First thing is to look for a guarantee. If somebody guarantee you to be on page 1, run. Okay, run as fast as you can, because unfortunately you cannot control Google. So there is no way that anybody will be able to guarantee you to get on page 1. We're pretty good at it, but I would never ever guarantee, because that would be a lie, because you just don't know what the website's built on. You don't know the previous person who ran it. You don't know if the website was banned from Google or not. So first and foremost is you want to know that if somebody's going to guarantee it. Secondly is you need to be able to update your website. If you don't have access to updating your website to be able to make changes to it, you're going to be penalized from Google. You should also make sure that you're not going to be charged every time you want to update your website, because that's important. Google wants to make sure that your website is new, it's fresh, and it's up to date. So that's very important as well from an SEO standpoint. SEO is not a sprint, it's a marathon. It takes time. If you're a new website or you're reaching out to new services or new areas, you can't get to page 1 right away. You have to Google has to find you first of all. Then after that, you have to get to page 10, then page 8, then page 5, then page 2, and then page 1. And then the fun part begins. We need to keep you on page 1. Once you get there, it's not guaranteed to stay there. And a lot of people say, okay, we're at page 1, thank you, goodbye. That's not going to happen. Within a month later, you're going to drop, and 98% of people don't go past page 1 when doing a Google search. So if you're not showing up on page 1, you really don't have much of a chance of getting a call.
Dean, what are some of the things that you would recommend to a client are things that you guys do to help create that momentum to get that page to move up in page rank? What kind of things do you recommend or do you do as it relates to search engine optimization to have your clients' pages move up?
Well, there's a lot of things, Jerry. There's about 15 different variables that Google looks for now, and they're always changing. First and foremost, I said it's content, content, content. You can't just put a keyword in there or a meta tag in the old days and expect Google to find you.
Right.
For example, if you're an orthodontist in Peekskill, New York, which is where you are, lovely Peekskill, if your website does not say orthodontist Peekskill and have content about that, you will not be found. You talk about braces in Peekskill. If you're talking about Invisalign, that has to have specific content about that. You can't just have the word and expect it to be found. And say people know who you are in your town. Well, I guarantee you, within 200 feet of the border of your town is another town surrounding it. People right there might not even know you exist.
Right.
So you have to add in content specifically about that town and reach out to your surrounding areas. So you might be killing it right here, but then 200 feet to here, nobody knows you exist. 200 feet on the site, nobody exists. So you have to localize your website for that as well. You need to be able to update it on a continuous basis. A lot of the cookie cutter companies will charge you an hourly rate. If you work 1 minute or 59 minutes, you're being charged X dollars to do that. That should be included. That's standard SEO. If you're being charged to update your own website, that's something that really should be a red flag as well.
What if somebody wants to lock you in? I had a client the other day that really good client, and without going into detail, one of the more prominent orthodontic practices in the country. And we were having lunch and we were talking about search engine optimization, and they said, yeah, we're just getting ready to, sign a contract and send it off to do it. And I said, okay. And I said, do you happen to have it? And they said they did. And I looked at it, and this particular customer was wanting to lock them into an 18-month agreement, and it was a significant amount of money each month. Is that how most places work, where you should pay and be locked into a contract, or should it be month to month, or how does that work?
It can't be month to month. You do need at least a minimum of a 6-month contract. We ask for 12 months with our agreements. 18 is a little extreme, but as I said, it could take Google 2, 3, 4 months just to even know your website exists if the content is not there correctly. And then you're not going to jump to page 1 immediately. They're going to put you on page 10, and then you have to climb up from there. So, in realistic terms, Google should be starting to find you within a month or two. And then you have to climb up from there. You have to have constantly adding in new stuff to it. 18 months is a long commitment. As I said, we ask for 12. Most of our clients see results right away, though.
So let's say you get a 12-month agreement to do search engine optimization, and I'm in month 3 and I'm just not feeling it. What happens?
Well, then we figure out why it's not working. We do all different types of analytics. We figure out website traffic. We see how many people are coming to the website. We see where they're coming from. We see how long they're staying on the website for. We look at new visitors. So if we see that the traffic is increasing, well, then Google is finding it.
Okay.
It's pretty, numbers don't lie. So if your numbers increase 10, 15, 20% from the previous month or the previous year, then the website, the SEO is working. There's no magic fix to do it. The only magic fix is to pay. And you've got Google AdWords. So you can be on page 1 today, but you're going to pay every time somebody clicks that button. And unfortunately, there is fraud involved with that. There's no way to prove it. We do Google AdWords for about 25% of our clients just to hedge our bet. Some clients, we have number 1 on Google, but if you look at Google, you'll see right above the organic listings, 3 ads. Okay, so somebody could just come in and pay $8, $10, $12 for a click every time somebody comes there and potentially get some of that business out of you. Most statistics are about 25% of people click on the ads, so you are losing that type of traffic. We hedge the bet. So a lot of our clients who we do have as number 1, we still pay for AdWords to be enough to be above it, just to make sure that we're going to corner that market.
Here's another question. So search engine optimization comes up a lot, and most of the orthodontists out there, as smart as they are, some of the smartest people on the planet, just don't really feel comfortable with the technology, and they need somebody that they can interact with, that can explain it to them, that can make recommendations in terms of looking at their site, looking at here's where I think you need some help, and here's what I recommend that you do. So search engine optimization is obviously one of those areas. That's why I brought it up. The next question is, when they look at their just website, when you pull up their website, and you mentioned, must have it mobile as well as on the computer, and you said 50%, Dean, I tell you that I bet you it's even higher than that are going through their phones. I bet it's closer to 70%, don't even
Sometimes it
look
is.
at their computer. Their computer is their iPhone or their iPhone 6
Exactly.
Plus or their iPad. But so when historically there's also been challenges, and they may have fixed this, but in the past some people were set up mobile, but their iPhones wouldn't interact with it. Is that a problem
Right.
anymore?
Yeah, sure. A lot of the cookie cutters don't offer a mobile option there. Probably, well, I'd say, listen, 95% of our clients came from one of the big cookie cutter companies.
Okay.
95%.
Wow.
They didn't get the customer service that they wanted. They weren't able to maintain their own website. They didn't manage it. If you work with one of the bigger companies, it's on their host. You can't do anything with it. If you ever want to leave them, you can't, because it's built on their platform and their host. You have to you're kind of locked in. You really have no choice.
Really difficult to get away.
Exactly. So, what we do when we build a website, we put it on a third-party hosting company. We put it on a GoDaddy or HostMonster. So it's yours. There's no reason you should be chained and be told what you have to do on your website. It's free world, your website is probably your most valuable asset, marketing-wise, to your practice.
Right.
So you should be able to control that 100%. Make sure you own your domain name. First and foremost, it's not done by whoever built the website for you. It's under your name, so you own it. Is make sure that you're the contact information on there. So if the website is going to expire, you're told about it, because I can tell you how many websites the domain names have just come up for renewal. The company who built it didn't renew it, and you lose your website. You lose your emails. So you need to control that. You need to be able to control the hosting part. So if you wanted to make a change, make an addition, add in a page, say you offer a new technology or a new service, you want to be able to add that in at the heartbeat, and you shouldn't have to be at mercy to be able to have to email info at blah, 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 or support at in order to do it. You should be able to pick up the phone and call and be able to do it.
Hey, Dean,
and that's kind of very important.
Blogs, right? We've heard about blogs for a long time, and whether we should have them on our websites or not. Do you recommend that to your orthodontic clients they have a blog on their site?
100%. More and more people, when you do a Google search, if you put in a question, what's the best way to, who is the best blah, 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 95% of the time you come to a blog. If you put in a keyword, orthodontist St. Louis, Invisalign St. Louis, you will come to a website. But if you put in who's the best orthodontist in the St. Louis area for crooked teeth, that's going to come to a blog, and a lot of people put in questions. So you have to have that a blog on your site. And again, it's adding in more content.
And
so it's very important to add that in.
Dean, when you guys, and I don't know how some of the big guys work, but these cookie cutters, but if you have a client that wants to have a blog, and then they want to say update that blog daily, weekly, monthly, how does that work? What is there a charge each time they do that, or
that's included in what we do? We handle this for our clients. We pretty much handle everything for the practice. You're a specialist about this. You know what you do, and you do it best. As are we. We are experts in the orthodontic industry. We know how to market and how to get referrals and how to get more people to find the practice. So we handle 99% of the website updates and marketing for the practice. You do what you do best. We know what people are looking for. We know the best way to get referrals, to get more people to the practice. So we handle all that for them.
What if you have a practice, Dean, talking about that, and it's great that you do, and an audience, we're talking about a turnkey solution. If you hear it, we're one-stop shop, kind of do it all. What if you have a doctor that says, Dean, I just don't have time to do a blog. I think the blog makes sense, but we're too busy to write an article. Or, what do you say to that? What do you do if you have somebody who just doesn't have time to put the content into a blog?
Don't worry, we do it for you. That's what I said. We handle it. We handle it all.
Really? So you would even help put some content on there?
Not will. We do.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't know that.
We handle it all. We write it. We know what needs to be written. We know the keywords. We know the technology. We know the hot spots. So we find it and we do it, and we write everything here in house. So we do we do it all for the practice. Yeah.
Well, that's a huge benefit.
As I said, you do what you do best. We handle it all. You just sit back and just follow the lead.
Well, I didn't know that you guys did that, so that's going to help a lot of practice, because most of them will tell you that they love the concept, they're just too busy to write it. So let me ask you this question. So that talks about blogs. We've talked about the need to have mobile capability. We've talked about the importance of a third-party hosting setup, so that if they do have changes in speed or anything else they want to modify in terms of hosting their site, they own it. They can move it. They don't like a hosting company, they can take it to another hosting company, blah, blah, blah. So they own that. We've talked about that. We've talked about YouTube content and that it's important to have some of that on their site. What about, here's the big deal, right? So social media. So historically, orthodontists have been told you got to be on Facebook, get out there, be on Facebook. You got to do all the social media stuff. And there's a real disconnect out there in terms of how do I use my social media to really increase my traffic to my site, and B, to use it to create interest in my company. So can you talk to that a little bit about what needs to be done or how to use those things and what you guys recommend there?
Sure. When you talk in social media, you have to realize that not everybody's on the same social media platform and who your target market is. If you were trying to reach your patients as say kids, you want to reach the kids to have their friends be referrals for you. No self-respecting 13-year-olds on Facebook anymore.
Right.
Okay,
that's mom.
they're
Right?
on,
Mom's on Facebook.
Exactly, that's moms. The kids will be probably on Instagram or on Twitter. Moms are on Facebook and on Pinterest. If you're trying to reach dads, you want to be potentially on Facebook, but more majority on Twitter. So you really need to be where they are, not where you are. And luckily, again, this is something that we handle for the practice. When we sit down with a new practice, we'd say there are 5 things we need from you. Okay, first thing we need is pictures. Second thing we need is pictures. Third thing we need is pictures. Fourth thing we need is pictures.
Right.
You know what number 5 is?
I guess it's pictures.
Yeah. Exactly, man. Exactly. And the reason is when you go to your Facebook and you turn your Facebook as a person, you go to your feed, you go to your wall. What's the first thing you see? Picture.
Right.
Nobody reads. You see a picture. That's what's shared. That's what's commented on. So we have to make sure that every practice is active on taking pictures. Typically when a patient comes in, they walk into the front desk, they check in, and then they say, "Hey, Joey Smith here." Hey, Joey sits down, he takes out his phone, he starts tweeting or texting or whatever, and that's it. Well, why not get Joey or his mom to follow you on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram right there? Okay, get them active. When they sit down in the chair, we want them to take a picture and put it up on Instagram immediately and like it and share it and tell their friends. Social media, if worked correctly, is a game changer because everybody's on it. And if done correctly, they will be salespeople for you in an indirect way. Let's make it fun and interesting. Quick question is, why would anybody in their right mind follow orthodontist on Facebook?
Right.
Okay, and there are 5 letters that are gospel for social media. WIIFM.
I'm guessing that's what's in it for me.
Bingo, exactly. So why would somebody follow you on Facebook unless they're getting something out of it? And so what we do is we come up with different strategies and ideas for the practice to get the name out there and incentivize the patients to pass the word out and share it and tell their friends about it. I'm going to use Facebook, for example. About 5 years ago when Facebook was very, very happening, when a business put up a post on the Facebook page, it was seen by everybody who followed them. It showed up on their wall. About 3 years ago when they went public, Facebook said, "Hey, we can make a lot of money here." So only about 50% of the posts went up. That went up were actually seen. The rest they had to pay for. This upset a lot of companies. Coca-Cola spent over $250 million promoting their Facebook page to get likes and what have you. And all of a sudden Facebook says, "You want to reach your own followers, your own likes? Pay us." Well, people weren't happy about that. About a year and a half ago, that 50% went down to under 20%. As of this past year, January, that number is under 2%.
Oh my gosh!
So when you put something up on Facebook, under 2% of the people is going to show up in their feed on the wall. So the only way that they will see it now is 3 different ways. One is you have to pay to promote it and boost the post. Number 2 is if somebody goes back to your Facebook page, they'll see it. And number 3 is it has to be shared. Okay, and nothing better than just somebody just clicking the like and share button, or commenting on it, and that's when all their friends will see it. And if you come up with different strategies and different fun ideas and give people a reason to tell their friends, you're building up a very, very powerful brand loyalty, and they're telling the world and their friends about you without even really doing anything.
Well, let me ask you a question, Dean, on that, because you bring up a question I wasn't familiar with. So let's say I have my Facebook page, and do you guys help manage that?
Not help, we do.
Okay.
As I
So
said,
let's
we.
say,
Mhm.
oh, okay, so I'm an orthodontist. I've hired you to help me. We got my orthodontic Facebook page up. Um, my treatment coordinator, I'm just going to throw out a scenario. My treatment
Mhm.
coordinator is a friend on the corporate Facebook page for orthodontics. Okay. The orthodontic corporate web page puts on some contest or says, hey, we're doing something, and she likes it. The
Mhm.
treatment specifically, the individual treatment coordinator likes it, and she has made
Mhm.
an effort to have all the moms of the patients that she's treated be her friend on Facebook. So when she likes it, it's going to shoot out to all those people. Is that true?
Partially,
Okay.
it would be a small percent. That then from liking it, you have to do something else. You have to do some kind of either share
Yeah.
or
So she
comment.
shares it. So let's say
Okay.
she shares it and
Okay.
says, "Hey, this sounds like
Then
a
they're friends
great."
with you.
Okay.
Exactly.
And so that could
So
be a
the triple
strategy as
play
well.
is versus liking the post. First liking the page and then liking the post. Then the second thing is to share is to comment on the post, and the third is to share it.
Okay.
If you do that, it will reach out to a massive audience.
Here's a side question for you, and I just want to get your perspective. So one of the things that it's not a game changer, what I'm getting ready to say, but it is a benefit, is one of the things I'm going to be talking about in a few months that I see very few orthodontic practices doing is creating in LinkedIn, going into LinkedIn or having one of the treatment coordinators go into LinkedIn and start writing articles about treatment and have those, and then create a subgroup within their marketplace. Let's say that they're in Timbuktu, Illinois, and there's a Timbuktu PTA group, and there's a Timbuktu golf club group, and so she starts inviting these parents and these people to be linked in with her, and then she starts sending out periodic articles or educating them on, hey, here's some things that are going on, not commercials, but actual good content articles, and I've suggested that as an additional tool in the toolbox. Do you guys get involved at all with LinkedIn, or do you see any benefits with it?
Oh yeah, sure. LinkedIn is by far the most powerful business to business social media platform out there. So if you are trying to reach out to get more referrals,
Right.
to reach out to more GPs, to get more other businesses in the area and groups to come to the practice and brand it, then that's by far the best way to do it. To reach out to moms, there are a lot of great mom blogs out there
Right.
that you want to be in, and once you get in with them and they start passing your name out, again, that is a game changer in itself.
And you guys know how to do that stuff.
Oh, sure, we do it all. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We do. Yep, we figure out the strategy.
So, Dean, last thing I want to ask you, because I'm trying to keep this thing to about 30 minutes. I want to before we end, don't let me forget to give out your website address and how people can get a hold of you. But before we get there, if you had three things, if you said, Gary, here are three things that I think every orthodontist should be thinking about when it relates to their website or social media or that component of their business, if you had two or three recommendations, what would they be?
First thing is look at your numbers. Do you watch Shark Tank? First thing they say on Shark Tank is,
I love it.
well, you got to know your numbers. Okay, so you have to know, in numbers, first of all, how many new starts you have, and compare it to last month, month before, and also last year. And if you see the trend going this way or this way, well, you got to think, what's going on here? What am I doing wrong? That's the first thing is to look at that, and the website number is very important. You have to know your numbers. So you have to see how many people are coming to your website. You have to see how long they're staying on your website for and where they're coming from. If you do not see an increase, or if you see the average person is coming to your website and they're looking at 1.2 pages, well, you're not sucking them in. They're coming to your homepage and leaving. You want the average visitor to look at 3, 4, 5 pages. You want them to be, cruising to the website. You want them to be on the website for 2, 3, 4 minutes, not 18 seconds.
And you can track all that stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's very important to know. That's part of and every client we work with gets a report every month, and they get this information. The second thing is to look at your referral base. How many referrals did you get in the last quarter, and where did they come from? Hopefully, that you got it from GPs, you got them from the internet, you got them from patients. What are the patients doing for you to help you out and that's where you want to do it. That's by far the best way to do it. The last thing to look at is your touches. What are you doing to reach your patients? How involved are you with them? do, as soon as a patient, I said this, when they sit down, the first thing they do is take out the phone and start tweeting. So what are you doing to do it? Are they liking you on Facebook, following you on Twitter right there? Are they giving you a review while they sit there? Are they giving you a review on Yelp, on Google, on Healthgrades, on your Facebook? By doing this, again, gives them the opportunity to pass the word out to the world. More people are looking on Yelp than ever before. Might even get into the problems with Yelp and how much of a nightmare it is working with that, because they don't put up all of the recommendations that people do. Why were they to say that we don't believe this is a review that should be posted? But it happens. If you call up Yelp and you try to get that fixed, they're going to try to sell you advertising, 100% guaranteed. A lot of times, they strong arm you, and the only way they will fix your Yelp page is to take ads out. Again, we take all this out for you. We handle this. We deal with Yelp. We set up your Google Plus page, which is very important as well. Get reviews on Google. When you do a quick Google search and you look for an orthodontist in St. Louis, you're going to see 5 or 6 or 10 of them, and it's going to show the name, address, and then below it, it'll show you Google reviews. Automatically, if you see somebody has 75 reviews and somebody has 1 review and no reviews, you're going to put them on 75 reviews just as a knee-jerk reaction, because they have more people, and it seems like most of those reviews are probably going to be positive. So it automatically pulling it in. So again, this is something that we handle for the practice. And then lastly is, how involved are you with the patients? You want to make sure that they're doing things for you, that they're taking Instagram, that they're involved. Are you following an email going out to them afterwards asking for a review? Are they happy? Last thing you want is to go to Yelp and see somebody trashing you,
right,
and you didn't respond to it. By law, you're allowed to respond to it. So have you looked on your Yelp or Google and seen what people are saying about you?
It's a good point.
Know what's out there. And again, this is all part of part of our package is reputation management.
So Dean, last couple things I want to make sure as we close up. You guys do not only website development from start to finish, search engine optimization, all the social media component, the blogging, all that stuff. You offer all those services. If somebody out there wants to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? What's the best way to reach you?
Our website is ortho-marketing.com. Our phone number is 914-788-1555. You could email me directly as the company. My email is dean@ortho-marketing.com. We're not one of these small, two big crazy things that you have to call info at. You always be able to pick up the phone and reach me or one of your account executive. We're big enough to handle everything. We have 22 people in the office here that we do everything in-house. So you won't be lost. Every client is just as important, no matter how big your practice is. If you have 1 location or 9, we want to make sure that you're happy. Just like you get referrals, we get referrals.
Right.
We get all of our business from people that are happy with our work, and they tell their friends. We make sure that you are a VIP across the board. Yeah, that's what it is. We roll up our sleeves, get to know the practice. Every practice is different, has a different personality. So why should we be stuck in a cookie cutter? Why should you have the same brand and message as 15 or 30 or 40 other practices when you're totally different? Everything
Dean,
we do is custom.
I could not agree with you more. And for the audience out there, you know me well enough to know that I'm not out actively promoting a bunch of different businesses. You're not going to go to my website and see 17 sponsors of Wild Institute. I strongly think that if you're going to make any form of a decision about your website, social media, any of those things, please call Dean first. I trust him with my clients. I give his name out all the time. That's why we did this webinar. I want to thank you, Dean, for taking the time to let me put this webinar up. I'm going to put it up on my website, and I'll be sending it to one of your team to get it uploaded for me. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Gary.
Okay, take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.